Hey, boys and girls, how's it going? It's nice to see you all. Well, I'm sure it's nice for you guys to see me. Um, it's been 6 weeks, I can't believe that we're doing this online learning. So anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope your families are doing well. Everyone's safe and healthy and all that good stuff. Um, so real quick, guys, rundown of the week. Today we're going to do surface area of spheres. Tomorrow we're going to go ahead and combine everything we've done so far in Chapter 8. Wednesday and Thursday we're going to review a little bit. And then Friday we're going to have a little bit of a quiz slash test, or as I like to call them, a quest. So, but in the meantime, before we do any of that, I wrote a song for us. Really for you guys. It took me a few days to write all the lyrics out to go ahead and kind of just sort of write little something to go help you guys remember the formula to find the surface area of a cylinder. So I'm a little nervous to go ahead and sing it to you all, but whatever. So here it goes. Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to learn about finding the surface area of spheres. And the formula is here. So, surface area equals 4 pi r squared. That's it. So it's pretty straightforward. We fill in things we know and then we solve it. So let's go get some of these done. So the first one here, a sphere has a radius of 3 centimeters. What's the surface area? So our formula looks like this. Circumference, no, not circumference and not marker. Let's do this. So surface area equals 4 pi r squared. So let's fill in what we know. Surface area equals 4 times pi, we're using 3.14, and in this case, the radius squared. So if the radius is 3, 3 squared is equal to 9. So I have the surface area is equal to 4 times 3.14 times 9. So 4 times 3.14 times 9 is equal to 113.04. So 113.04, that's going to be centimeters squared. All right, next one, we want to know what the surface area is of a sphere with a radius of 6 centimeters. So surface area equals 4 pi r squared. So we fill in the 4, stays the same. Pi is 3.14, and in this case, the radius is 6. So 6 squared is 36. So we're left with, so the surface area is equal to 4 times 3.14 times 36. So 3.14 times 4 is equal to 12.56 times 36 is going to be equal to 452.16. So 452.16 centimeters squared. All right, next one. So a spherical rubber ball has a surface area of 3,215.36 square centimeters. What is the radius? So we have different information now. So surface area equals 4 pi r squared. So we know the surface area this time is 3,215.36
Here's our 4, here's our 3.14, but we don't know the radius squared, so we're going to keep that as just r squared. Now let's go ahead and solve what we could solve. So on this right side of the equation, we can do this, right? So we're left with 3,215.36 is equal to 12.56 r squared. So now, again, we want to get this r squared by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 12.56. 12.56. So now, when we do that, let's go ahead and do 215.36 divided by 12.56, and that's going to give us 256. So we have 256 is equal to r squared. Now remember, we don't want to know what r squared is. We want to know what r is. So we'll find the square root of both sides. The square root of r squared is r, and the square root of 256 is 16. So the radius is equal to 16 centimeters. All right. Last one here. So Kyle cuts a clay sphere in half to get 2 hemispheres. So he measures the circumference of the hemisphere to be 31.4 inches. So if this is one of the hemispheres he has, so he measures the circumference of the hemisphere to be 31.4. So let's remember that the circumference is the distance around the circle. So he measures this to be 31.4 inches. Okay? So we want to know, for question A, we want to know what the radius is. So if we remember, to find the circumference of a circle, we do 2 pi r. So let's fill in what we know here. So we know that the circumference is 31.4, all right, equals 2 times 3.14 times r. Okay, so now let's simplify this right side here. Let's do that. So we're left with 31.4 is equal to 6.28 r. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 6.28 to get the r by itself. So divided by 6.28, 6.28. So let's do this. 3.14 divided by 6.28 is equal to, that's not right, 31.4 divided by 6.28 is equal to 5. So 5 equals the radius. So we know the answer for A. The radius is equal to 5 inches. Now it says, what's the total surface area of the solid hemisphere? So let's do this. Let's say, remember, to find the surface area, we do 4 pi r squared. 4 pi r squared. So let's fill in what we know. 4 times 3.14 times the radius squared would be 25. So let's do this here. So let's do 4 times 3.14 again is 12.56 times 25, and we get the surface area equals 314. But that's not the answer. All right. The important thing to recognize here is this formula we just used is to find the surface area of a sphere. We're dealing with this right here, a hemisphere. So we can take this answer right here, 314, and we could cut in half, right? We could say, well, since this represents a full sphere, we could do 314 divided by 2, and that would be a step in the right direction. So divided by 2 is going to be equal to 157. All right, but now the thing that we have to recognize here is this 157 still is not the answer. All right, because the 157, just 1 second, the 157 represents all this part. It represents this curved part, right? All the way around, like represents this part. Okay, but what part we didn't take into account for the surface area, because again, if this was a present to somebody, we'd have to wrap this kind of the curved part of it. But then recognize here we have another part. We have this flat part that's in the shape of a circle. So we have to find the surface area of this. So remember, we want to find the area of this circle. We're going to use the formula to find the area of a circle, which is going to be pi r squared. So that's going to be 3.14 times the radius squared. Remember, the radius is 5. So 5 squared is 25, and that's going to give us 78.5. So the blue part down here, the area of this blue part is 157 inches squared, and the area of this yellow, this flat yellow circle, that's 78.5. So what we have to do is we got to combine those two. So when we combine 157 and 78.5, I think we get 235.5. So we get 235.5. So that's going to be inches squared. All right. Now, that last one took a little bit of time. I want to quickly just go over something. I want to change this around a little bit. So when you guys, what we could do, we could write like another formula that could just help us find the surface area of any hemisphere. So again, we have the curved surface there, right? We're going to do, instead of doing the regular formula of 4 pi r squared, since we're dealing with a hemisphere, let's change that to 2 pi r squared, right? So 2 pi r squared, I'm going to add pi r squared to that, right? So it's this 2 pi r squared represents this blue part down here, and the pi r squared represents this circle right here, right? But now you can recognize something here, that 2 pi r squared plus pi r squared, which essentially is just 1 pi r squared, equals 3 pi r squared. So if I want to find the surface area of a hemisphere, I can just use this formula here, 3 pi r squared. So let's check it out just to make sure it works. So 3 times 3.14 times the radius squared, which is 25. All right, so let's do it. Let's do 3 times 3 times 3.14 times 25 is going to be equal to 235.5. All right, so 235.5. I just wrote that again for some reason, but anyway, so this formula right here, 3 pi r squared, finds the surface area of a hemisphere. So that is finding the surface area of spheres and hemispheres.